Several executives of cryptocurrency exchanges are meeting with Capitol Hill. They're going to be meeting with House Financial Services Committee to discuss digital assets and the future of finance. Meanwhile, SEC Chair Gary Gensler expected to issue some new rules in the new year. Joining us right now in an exclusive interview is Robinhood Chief Legal Officer Dan Gallagher. Dan, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining us. Let's just help set the table before we even begin. What is at stake in your mind right now in these conversations?
Well, Andrew, first of all, thanks for having me. It's always great to be here. And look, these conversations are, I guess, theoretically existential to crypto. But one would have to assume, though, that Congress is actually going to act and legislate in this space. And, you know, given the current dynamics, I just heard Joe comment on the likelihood of things happening in Washington. You know, I think it's a stretch to believe that there'll be legislation coming out on crypto anytime soon.
Well, so that's the question. Is this really about legislation, or is this really about influencing what Gary Gensler ends up doing in terms of how he decides to regulate the industry?
Yeah, I think it will be very informative for the SEC and for Chair Gensler what happens today. I think what's happening, Andrew, from my perspective is, you know, the world of crypto here in the U.S. is kind of dividing into two camps, and one's a lot bigger than the other. The bigger one, you know, is sort of running away from regulation and trying to avoid regulation. And the other camp, and Robinhood, I think, would be included in this camp, is sort of running into the fire of regulation, right? Where, you know, you have entities like Robinhood who are already so highly regulated, who put such a premium on compliance, that just kind of sit back and say, all right, well, we can deal with regulation, rational regulation, we hope, regulation that doesn't quash innovation in this space, that doesn't take away investor choice. You know, let's figure out how to do this thing. And, you know, the problem that Chair Gensler has here is he doesn't have legislation to give him the authority to do probably what he wants to do. And that the analog
Which
here,
is what?
And you followed this.
Which is
well,
what?
He wants
when
to,
you said he doesn't have, what do you think he wants to do?
Look, I think the analog here is derivatives, right? We all saw what happened with derivatives in the financial crisis. We saw what resulted, Andrew. Title VII of Dodd-Frank, a highly, highly prescriptive piece of legislation that created a new market structure. You know, many, including myself, argued one that didn't fit for derivatives. And derivatives were fully unregulated before this, before Title VII came along. And Gary, of course, when he was at the CFTC, you know, he played a huge part in the drafting of Title VII, the implementation, and I think he brings that tool set to bear here with crypto. And you know, I think that in the crypto world, it's very different market. I don't think that same paradigm should apply. I think that there should be, you know, some types of protections. He keeps talking about wanting to bring things into the protection circle, the investor protection circle. That makes sense to me. Anti-fraud authority, you know, maybe examination authority, things like that. But in the meantime, what he's left with is his enforcement department, his division, and bringing enforcement cases serially, you know, ad hoc. And that's not good for the industry either, right? The industry's sitting back watching one by one. So, you know, I hear him, Andrew, you know, he's given speeches. He said, you know, come on in, let's talk, register. We're doing this, by the way, at Robinhood. We call it crypto the hard way, right? I think what he's laying out is crypto the hard way. There's no clear path, but we're going to try to, you know, as a private entity, try to help chart that path by working with them.
What about both leverage in the system, and what about these interest rate? You know, I don't know if they're interest rate. These interest products, they almost look like a money market product of sorts, but they're backed by crypto, oftentimes providing a remarkable interest rate.
Yeah, look, we don't offer this at Robinhood. We see other platforms doing that. It's obviously a popular thing with consumers. I think the government is right to be wary of whether the appropriate investor protections are in place for those types of products. I mean, you know, Andrew, sometimes things, you know, are shiny, but they're not gold. So I think they warrant attention. But the bigger picture issue is here, not the derivative products from crypto, but actually the buying and selling of crypto, you know, as a whole. And I think, you know, that's going to be the large part of the debate in Congress today.
Hey, Dan, I've got a question that actually comes from Jim Cramer. It's a good one. He wants to know how much of your business is people doing their businesses now options, and he's asking the dollar amounts, but also the percentage of doing nothing but options, and then just how much is just common stock too.
Sure. Well, I'll refer you to our public filings on the exact numbers, Becky, but I think it's a minority, a vast minority of our customers doing options. I think it's roughly somewhere around 10% of our customers. And so, there's been a lot of attention paid to options. I think a little bit is exaggerated, quite frankly. But for us, it's clearly an important business line. We derive, obviously, a lot of revenue from it. We think it's an important product, a product that should be made available to our customers, to all investors in the U.S. And again, it's just another issue of where we need to ensure that the proper guardrails are in place. And at Robinhood,
put a finer point on it, though. If it's 10% of people who are doing options, is there a way to break it down as to what percentage of your business is, or is it 10% of your revenue that comes from that, or something? What's a way to kind of put it into context?
Yeah, that's all in our filings. It's for the order flow, the payment for order flow that we get from options, it is a significant part of our overall revenue. It's more than equities, I guess, is what you're getting at.
Hey, Dan.
But again,
one of the other questions. Yeah. No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, look, options, it's an important product. They're not derivatives. They're not these sort of exotic products. They're not CDO squareds or anything like that. That people make them out to be sometimes, but we do need to have the right guardrails in place. And at Robinhood, over the last year and a half or so, we have put in so many enhancements to our options platform. We've talked about it here on air. We feel really good about our offering for customers and the guardrails that we provide.